I'm Haley B. Miller, and this is Ohio Politics Explained, a podcast where you give us 15 minutes and we give you all the news you need to sound smart and impress your friends. Welcome back to Ohio Politics Explained. Today, we'll break down everything happening with marijuana and hemp, which is a lot. We'll also discuss how the Ohio House wants to cut $2 billion in property taxes. With me today is Jesse Balmer.
Happy to be here. Inside Millage is my passion.
Before we get going, as always, if you enjoy OAP, we really appreciate your ratings and reviews on Apple Podcasts. Okay, let's talk THC. Governor Mike DeWine signed an executive order earlier this month to ban intoxicating hemp and THC drinks. Lawmakers were deadlocked on this issue for months, and DeWine basically got tired of waiting. A Franklin County judge blocked DeWine's order, so it's currently not in effect. While that was going on, House Republicans got together and hashed out a new plan for hemp. What are some of the highlights?
Yeah, so this is kind of a combination hemp and marijuana proposal that was passed out of the House this week. It caps like the THC contents for flowers. It would allow some of these THC beverages to continue to be sold at like bars and so forth, but there would be some limits on how much could be in there. It also creates these like hemp dispensaries, which I think will be a conversation that the Senate would like to have about how and where this is sold.
Yeah, for sure. The hemp dispensaries are interesting. They would basically operate how marijuana dispensaries operate right now. It would apply to any hemp product that can be eaten or ingested, with the exception of the THC drinks, which the House kind of handled separately. And this was a brand new idea. It was dramatically different from anything the House had been discussing before, and certainly not what the Senate wanted to do. The Senate wanted to just put hemp products in marijuana dispensaries that already exist and a framework that already exists.
Yeah, so I think that's a conversation that is certainly going to be had. I'd be surprised. I think even Senate President Rob McCauley said this week that this is likely headed to a conference committee, which is basically just a few lawmakers from the House and the Senate get together and figure out the differences and come up with another bill. So this is certainly not in its final form yet.
Yeah, definitely not. And as you mentioned, this also tackles changes to the recreational marijuana law, which voters approved in 2023. It bans all smoking and vaping in public, caps the THC content, which you mentioned, and allows people to apply for expungement of low-level marijuana convictions. Representative Jamie Callender, a Republican who supports the marijuana law, said the bill isn't perfect, but it did have a rare showing of bipartisan support.
Yeah, I think especially after Governor Mike DeWine said, let's keep this out of the hands of kids, it was going to be hard for Republicans and Democrats to en masse say, no, let's keep this going. So there was certainly the pressure and the desire to do something, and we'll see what that final something is. Also, from your lovely reporting, we found out that this creates two new taxes, 10% tax on intoxicating hemp sales, and a $1.20 per gallon excise tax on retailers. So it's always interesting to see Republicans approve any form of tax increase, but this does bring it in line with some of these other products.
Yeah, I think, marijuana, hemp, there are a lot of Republicans especially who don't love these products, would rather we didn't have recreational marijuana, but I think they're kind of like, hey, if we're going to have it, we might as well make some money on it.
Yeah, certainly Speaker Matt Huffman has said that he would not have marijuana in the state of Ohio, but he feels he's lost that battle with the voters, certainly in 2023.
Let's move on to property taxes. The House also voted this week on two bills that will cut property taxes by more than $2 billion over 3 years. They do this by tying tax hikes to inflation instead of allowing taxes to increase at the crazy high rates that we saw the past few years. The impact of this will vary. People in school districts that saw massive tax hikes will see more savings, but homeowners in urban districts like Columbus won't see much of a change.
Yeah, I think that is part of the criticism of this is that it's not statewide, wholesale, across the board tax relief, but certainly it's getting at some of the key issues that Ohio has faced in recent years, because the concept was to try to avoid these really large increases from year to year, and tying it to inflation should certainly help with that.
Yeah, that's not to say home values, tax bills won't increase in the future, but tying it to inflation at least contains how much that number goes up by.
Yeah, and the first bill that they passed should be a $1.7 billion savings over the next 3 years. This bill, it was kind of hard to get to the floor, in part because there were concerns from school districts that this would be a massive cut, but it seems like they are throwing some money that direction as well.
Yeah, so this bill now will send over $400 million to schools over the next couple years to basically fill the gap if they were going to get a set amount of property tax revenue before, and now under this bill, they wouldn't be. Before this change was added, schools were really unhappy about the bill, but they've kind of come around now, say that this is going to help them out while also helping taxpayers out, although the big question, as always, is what will happen in the Senate with both of these bills.
Yeah, talking to Senate President Rob McCauley, he said that he likes the concept of tying this to inflation, that was part of the original goal to try to avoid, again, some of these massive spikes that people have been seeing. But to use the overused phrase in the Ohio legislature, the devil is in the details. And so we'll see how that gets sorted out in the Senate.
One thing that came up a lot this week, speaking to House Speaker Matt Huffman, other Republicans, is, do you think this is going to be enough to appease the people who want to get rid of property taxes? Huffman said there are some people who have decided this is their mission now and they won't be swayed, but he's hoping that, the headline of $2 billion in property tax relief will convince some people that lawmakers are paying attention.
Yeah, they had a whole press conference after this. We're talking about all the certain benefits and how they got to this legislation. So there's certainly a push from lawmakers to try to tell Ohioans, we're working on this, we're doing something. It's also questionable whether the group that's trying to put this on the ballot will be able to be organized enough and have enough collected signatures to put this on the November 2026 ballot to completely eliminate property taxes. So certainly it is a looming question. And
one more thing before you go. In case you missed it, we released a special episode about Ohio's death penalty and what the future holds when DeWine is no longer in office. Be sure to check it out along with our series of stories on our websites.